What did the queen do for the so-called black man? One whole entire race of people get captured and raped and pillaged, brutalize the women, murder the men. What did the queen do for black people?
Yo.
What did the queen do for native Indian people, the Caribs and Arawaks? What did the queen do for the Hispanic people? It's time for us to wake up and understand what is going on, what is taking place with blacks, native Indians and Hispanic.
I.S.U.P.K.
Anyway, my dogs go in on the street, them bad. Gun talking up with jeans member. If any somebody ever treat them bad, send the pussy them but meet them God. Louis V kicks pan we feed them bad. Catch a new drip, dog we beat them bad. Look how we just come and we a beat them bad. You know sister we is them dad. Hey, but anyway though, this a no playground. The Glock 19, they have to stay round. Nah take no check with me payroll. Anything rise up.
The so-called black man, native Indian man and Hispanic man, I don't understand. Just as the brother was bringing out earlier, you see what we see going on today. When you look around in the tongues, you're seeing all the flags flying half-mast. Alright? We're seeing in the front of every newspapers, they're talking about the queen. You know what they're making you understand? They're making the so-called black man, native Indian man, and the Hispanic man to understand and hear what's going on. Everything's still in place. You understand? The American dream is still in place. And that's what the so-called black man must understand. And the only reason why the so-called black man is going to believe in the American dream is because he's asleep. And we're going to understand what Commanding General YAHANNA, what the priests and the prophets in the scriptures had to come out and say to the so-called black man when we start believing in the dreams of the other races, in the dreams of America, in the American dream. Hear what our forefathers had to say. Read.
Awake and awake, put on thy strength.
He had to say to the so-called black man, awake, awake, put on thy strength.
O Zion.
Oh who?
O Zion.
Oh Zion. So we understand what the priests and the prophets in the scriptures talking about. We see it talking to who? Zion. Right. Talking to blacks, native Indians and Hispanics. Right. Say to us, awake, awake. Because the so-called black man have been put to sleep by this system. The so-called black man have been put to sleep by the Christian leaders. The so-called black man have been put to sleep by the ideologies and the doctrines that we have been taught in this captivity, so-called black man. Read.
Put on thy beautiful garments.
Do what?
Put on thy beautiful garments.
The beautiful garments of the so-called black man. I know we're talking about so-called black man. What is our beautiful garments? Our laws, our commandments, and our statutes. These are the beautiful garments of the so-called black man, native Indian man, and Hispanic man. Because here you're going to understand so-called black man. Anywhere that the so-called black man goes on the earth, and we follow the philosophy and doctrines of the so-called white man, of the East Indians, of the Chinese, watch what has happened. Watch the mess we just end up in. Watch what has happened with communities. It's full of drugs. It's full of child molestation. It's full of kidnappings. It's full of murders. Because you know what's going on? We ain't wearing the beautiful garments.
That's right.
The so-called black man does not have on the laws, commandments, and statutes of the Most High. Here we behaving like Adam. That is why a lot of people can't understand the Bible. We behaving like Adam. When the Most High catch you slipping, you know what we do? We run and cover up with self. You understand? With leaves. The leaves in the scriptures represent another doctrine and another philosophy. So like the so-called black man today, here what the so-called black man run and cover himself with. He run and cover himself with Egyptology. The so-called black man run and cover himself with being a Muslim. We run and cover himself with being a Catholic. But the Most High said to the so-called black man, no, put on your beautiful garments. The laws, commandments, and statutes of the Most High power. So you know how the so-called black man gonna look beautiful? When we stop eat pork, crab, lobster, and shrimp. When we stop celebrate Easter. When we stop celebrate Halloween. When we stop kill and murder each other. When we stop reach out to the police to solve the situations in the ghettos. This is when the so-called black man will have on his beautiful garments. When we understand the things that the Most High require of us so-called black man. Read on.
O Jerusalem.
Oh who?
O Jerusalem.
Talking to who?
O Jerusalem.
Read on.
The holy city, for henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean.
So the Most High said, you know, you're not going to come into we no more. Here we're going to happen to the so-called black man, the uncircumcised and the unclean is not going to be intermingled anymore with the so-called black man.
Right.
And we understand, if you understand this Bible, or if you're listening to the class in the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA, that is those other races walking around lawlessly, doing the things that displease and despise the Most High, doing the things, as the brother brought out earlier, the things that makes the other races enemies of the Most High.
Right.
Those that walking around in an ungodly manner, those that walking around and not subjecting themselves to the laws, commandments, and statutes of the Most High power, the laws, commandments, and statutes that have been taught by black men on the earth.
Right.
All right, read on.
Verse 2. Shake thyself from the dust.
Read that one more time.
Shake thyself from the dust.
The Most High saying to the so-called black man, time for you to be aware of what's going on, so-called black man, and shake yourself from the dust.
Right.
Shake yourself, so-called black man, from the condition and the level that we're in. What are we going on with you right now? After all this oppression, we still trying to salute the queen. We still dropping flags half-mast.
Right.
We still running and buying out all the newspapers and having all the discussions on our lips today is talking about the queen.
Right.
Shake yourself out of the dust, so-called black man, and put on a new conversation. Talk about your culture, talk about your race,
right.
Talk about your laws, talk about the thing that is required to build your family back up again.
Right.
The black family, the native Indian family, and the Hispanic family. These are the words that is supposed to be on our lips and on our minds today, so-called black man. Read on.
Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem.
Read that again.
Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem.
Arise. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Talking to the so-called black man.
Right.
Arise and sit down. Come out from in that dust, man. Time for the so-called black man to arise and sit down. Take your seat and a position as a priest and a king on the earth.
Right.
But the only time and the only how the so-called black man can hold on to this is understanding these scriptures, man. Is understanding these laws, commandments, and statutes. Is about rulership. Is about governance. Is about order. You understand? This is what is going to bring peace among the so-called black man. This is what is going to bring peace in the home of the so-called black man.
Right.
This is what is going to bring peace in black communities. Arise, so-called black man. Arise out of the dust and sit down. Read on.
Loose thyself from the band of thy neck.
What the Lord said to do?
Loose thyself from the band of thy neck.
Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, so-called black man. The doctrines and philosophies that have been pushed on the so-called black man and that have become yokes and fetters on the necks of the so-called black man, the things that we have learned under oppression, loose yourself, so-called black man, from that.
Right.
And now the so-called black man able to loose himself from these bands because the priests and prophets in the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA is on the streets giving you the knowledge, so-called black man, and making you understand what you need to do to loose yourself from these bands that hold the black man, the black woman, and the black child in the condition that we're in today.
Right.
All right, read on.
O captive daughters of Zion.
O who?
O captive daughters of Zion.
O captive daughters of Zion. So we are the daughters of Zion, the children of Israel, and letting you know, so-called black man, that we are the captives. Loose yourself, so-called black man, because you know what happening now? Here what we do have now, we do have a problem for knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? As scripture say, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Right.
But you know what's going on with the so-called black man right now? We're lacking knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? Because the Lord have raised back up men and sent men on the earth to give the so-called black man the necessary knowledge that is required to come out from the conditions and the positions and the holes and the fetters that we have been trapped in for over 400 years.
Right.
Arise, so-called black man, and loose yourself. Get into the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA and understand what this is all about. Read on.
Verse 3. For thus say the Most High. For thus say the Most High. You have sold yourself for naught.
What we have done?
You have sold yourselves for naught.
The so-called black man have sold himself for naught. The so-called black man have sold himself for nothing. At the end of the day, after we have pledged all this loyalty to the so-called white man, to the oppressor, to the queen, what we gain for that? Look at black people today. Look at the condition of the ghetto. Look at the condition of the slums. Look at the condition of us walking around here in Port of Spain. You understand? Working for minimal wages. Racing for a 9 to 5. We sold, we sell for nothing.
Right.
We reject our God. We reject the priests and prophets that the Lord has sent us and sold ourselves for nothing.
Right.
Because this so-called black man that we call the American dream, this have not benefited us. And it's time for us to wake up out of the American dream.
Right.
Awake out of this dream, so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man. Awake and understand what is taking place with us. Read on.
And you shall be redeemed without money.
And what going to happen to us?
And you shall be redeemed without money.
It's time for the so-called black man to wake up. And hear what the Lord say going to happen to us? When we wake up, and they're going to know our work, so our woke black man. When a so-called black man wake up, hear what's going on. He will be in the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA. This is how you're going to understand that a so-called black man wake up. Walking around and feel that you have knowledge in your head, it means you wake up. It's coming in the I.S.U.P.K, joining with your brothers and sisters, and really walking and living these laws, commandments, and statutes among each other.
Right.
Understanding what brotherhood is all about, and united as a race and as a nation of people.
Right.
Read that same scripture again, Baba Kosha.
For you shall be redeemed without money.
For what?
For you shall be redeemed without money.
Because when the so-called black man understand this, that all these things we're reading about and hearing about, and the Queen history, all that garbage we're hearing about, all what they're telling you, work hard, work harder. You know what I mean? It had a song, I think this man did sing, Little Black Boy Go to School and Learn. Gypsy, right? Come and sing that song. Go to school and learn. Like black people not educated. So much watch all the inventions that have been created is black people. You understand? This is not just about education, because you know what the Lord said? We're going to be redeemed without money. Money is not going to take the so-called black man out of the condition that he is in. According to the scriptures, money is a defense. We need money. You know what we need money for? Here what we need money for. We need money to solve money problems. That is what money does fix. Money does fix money problems. This is what the so-called black man must understand. But the Lord said we're going to be redeemed without money. Because salvation for the so-called black man, that is not a cash transaction. That is the destruction of the enemies of blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. That is the destruction of the other races. That is not a money problem. That is a problem of power. That is a problem of military might. So the Lord said we're going to be redeemed without money to make the so-called black man understand what our redemption is all about. You understand? So yes, we are to hustle. Yes, we are to come together. Yes, we are to put the economic structure in place. But the Lord said to us, this salvation we're talking about is not about money. Read on.
Verse 4. For thus say the Most High Power, my people went down a fourth time into Egypt. Right,
so we see the history of the so-called black man. We went in a fourth time in Egypt. Yeah, Tawara. Appreciate that. We went down into Egypt. Read on.
Into Egypt to sojourn there, and the Assyrians oppressed them.
So we went into Egypt to sojourn. Just like when you come across in Trinidad. We get brought across from West Africa as the brother brought out into the Caribbeans. So we sojourn in this land because that's not we home. And then what happened? The same way we went in Egypt is the same way we come in Trinidad, in Jamaica, in Barbados, and so forth. And here what's going on now. The Syrians oppressing we again. The same way they oppress the so-called black man in Egypt, the Syrians oppressing the black man again. The 1% oppressing the black man again. Just as the brothers were bringing out earlier with the Queen. What did the Queen do for the so-called black man? One whole entire race of people get captured and raped and pillaged, brutalized the women, murder the men. What did the Queen do for black people? What did the Queen do for Native Indian people, the Caribs and Arawaks? What did the Queen do for the Hispanic people? It's time for us to wake up and understand what is going on, what is taking place with blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. Read that one more time, Baba Kosha.
And the Assyrians oppressed them without cause.
And what?
And the Assyrians oppressed them without cause.
So the same way that black people went into Egypt, the same way Israelites went into Egypt, you know what the Syrians do? They oppress we without cause. And it's the same way today that the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man is oppressed without cause. All the drugs and guns coming in that are talking about, and again, black people getting murdered every day, young men being murdered. What happening to the Chinese and to the Syrians and to the East Indians when container loads of drugs come in? The police officers running up in them communities and shoot it up. Because I know it's not black people bringing it in. I know the show about that. We ain't have the money for that. We have no organization set up for that. So we don't have the economic structure in place. So you damn well know it's not black people bringing in the drugs. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Why they're not going up in the East Indian communities, in the Syrian communities, in the Chinese communities and shake it up? Right. Why don't they lock them down communities and shake up them communities to figure out now who's the men, who's the people bringing in all these guns, bringing in all these drugs, in all these containers, in orange juice and in chicken, and the long list goes on. Because they know it's not black people. So don't pretend that all they want to solve crime and all they damn well know it has nothing to get up in the ghetto. You understand what I'm saying? Because of the systematic oppression being put on the so-called black man is where they come and put the black man in place to come and play, you know, the selling drugs to one another. But you damn well know that's not the source of the problem. Go up in Westmorelands, go up in the big communities and circle them big communities, all that big jeep, all that big guns and all the soldiers all they have and shake up there. Because as long as you bring all these other races, all these heathens in check, it ain't going no guns and it ain't going no drugs in the black community. Because we ain't producing it. We don't have labs to bring these things into play. We have labs to make hash and all these different pharmaceutical pills. The black man don't have infrastructure for that. So don't pretend you're about crime and you're about the black community. We understand what is going on because these things take place with us since in Egypt the so-called black man was abused. Since in Egypt the so-called black man was oppressed without cause. Look at all the hospitals that pushing for abortions for women. They're always close to the black communities. You see the pushing abortions up in Westmorelands. You see the pushing abortions down penal for the Eastern Indians them to kill all the children. You see the pushing abortions for the Chinese. They're always pushing these things, you understand, in the throat and in the stomach of blacks, Native Indians and Hispanics. As the Lord said in the scripture, right, oppressing us without cause.
Say well to what I tell, no calling can cause pain, something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord?